Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Growing up as kids, we believed a lot of things. Sometimes we were told don't believe in certain things, but unfortunately, a lot of the things we experience as kids have charted our lives, and maybe they aren't really true. And I'm talking about your confidence, your self-esteem, so much more. We're going to peel back some of those layers today with somebody that helps people all the time. And she's a spiritual life coach, a hypnotherapist, and I got to talk about the retreat and the getaways that she has and she does for people. And she is Rhea Maceris, and she's with us. Rhea, welcome. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Steve.
All of we're about to talk about, and it's not about me, but use me as an example. I experienced it as a kid, had hypnotherapy. I knew immediately where I needed to go. I just said, take me back to my childhood, get me back there. Not that it was bad, but I know things there had led me to believe certain things in my adult life, and it became challenging. And I'm sure you hear that all the time. It's almost like you're an investigative, like CSI Rhea, where you kind of go back and kind of figure out what are some limiting beliefs that people have nowadays with their lives.
Well, interesting and wonderful question, Steve. What I have found is when you unpeel the layers and I talk with my clients for a bit, almost always it leads to some type of not good enough, not worthy, some variation of that belief, which is a challenging belief to carry, obviously, through life, because then that's what we end up seeing and expressing and feeling in our life. So it's some form of that when I peel down the layers with my clients, which is obviously not the truth.
How do you find the truth? How do you find what that belief is before you get into the truth? Do they know? Like I kind of knew where I wanted to go, but I'm sure a lot of people may come to you and have no idea.
Yes, and generally speaking, because they're not used to talking this deeply with someone. So what I find is people often, because I'm creating a safe space for them, they end up telling me things that they generally don't talk about, or maybe it's with their grandmother or their spouse, perhaps. But what happens is, as we're talking, it almost always, like I mentioned, leads to some variation of them believing they're not worthy or they're not good enough. And that leads to a conversation about their own inner dialogue and their own self-talk to themselves. Because once you have a negative belief, the thoughts follow that line of thinking, and then the thoughts lead to our own self-talk, which can be also negative if we're believing that about ourselves. So I often work with people about becoming aware, first of all, what is it you're telling yourself? Why are we so critical of ourselves? That's the wonderful question that I often ask them, and they really pause for a moment thinking, why do I talk to myself that way? So we peel the layers and then work from that avenue.
It can be unnerving for somebody not to know why they can't move forward.
Yes. Not only unnerving, many people suffer as a result of it. And I believe that suffering is a choice when you understand the complexity of it underneath. And of course, I'm not talking about experiences of, trauma and death, et cetera. Of course, there can be some suffering that comes with that. However, day by day, I'm referring to, if we can begin to notice how we're interacting with ourselves internally, and that's what I bring, is that awareness. Awareness can be your best friend in this process. Aware of what you're telling yourself, awareness of what is going on internally. And a lot of people don't spend time there unless they're sitting with someone like me, because that's what I appreciate and want to help people with, because this is what has saved me from myself. This has helped me in my own journey. So finding out what is it that you're telling yourself, and then shifting it in that moment to positive, to gratitude, to appreciation, which are higher vibrational feelings. And then that can create a higher vibrational feeling within yourself. Does that make sense?
It does to me, because that's that part of my journey. And, I haven't mastered all of that, in terms of the gratitude. I try to practice it as much as possible. and even use those words. I'm grateful for you. It's okay to say that, people. It's there's nothing wrong with that. And it
It's
will be,
actually quite empowering and beautiful.
it
Yeah.
is, right? And sometimes
Yes.
we're afraid to take down I call it the power windows. Sometimes afraid to bring the window down a little bit and get a little vulnerable and say, I'm grateful for you. I am. That's it. It's a fact. Be real about it. The
Yeah.
affirmations, what you tell yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Obviously, the language that you use in your mind and even verbally makes a big difference, and good or bad. Do you suggest that we use positive affirmations just in our daily lives?
Most definitely. And it's not just about thinking or saying the affirmation, it's the feeling of it.
Yeah.
Really finding, what does that gratitude really feel like? Find things that excite you, that help you to feel that gratitude. Because if you think about it, Steve, everything is energy, right? So if I'm walking around feeling sad or feeling like a victim or feeling not good enough, using that example, that's a very low vibrational energy. And so my life is going to show me situations that are low level thinking people, experiences, etc. If you put it in that genre of everything is energy. So I help and support my clients over time, recognizing those thoughts and shifting them to the positive. And so, yes, affirmations are a big part of the journey that I actually give people homework when I work with them long term, and when I give them things to practice. It's not we just meet once a week and then you go on your own way. I actually provide services of, like I said, homework and things to do on their own. And
Mm.
it's feeling the affirmations. That's the critical piece, I believe.
You know how I know this works, Rhea?
Do tell.
Because it worked on the reverse side. I used to say things and almost believe things over the past 10 years. And they weren't the best things. They were just thoughts that I had. Or I feel this way. This is the way I feel, in this situation. Um, and they all came true. And not that I wanted them to, but they all came true.
So you're referring to negative and or positive
I
situation.
am. I am.
Yes.
But, a lot of times people will say, oh, this foo-foo positive affirmation stuff, hey, come on, you want to manifest something. Well, I manifested apparently some things, not horrible at all, but just things that I thought, things that I believed, and they actually came
Yes.
true. And
Yes.
I didn't want them to, but probably if I wasn't thinking it, they probably wouldn't have manifested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we mentioned the beliefs. Well, if someone has that attitude, the affirmations don't really work. If they really believe that, they won't work for them. That's
Right.
kind of the rub, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the belief system needs to be intact. So I spend time with my clients, sharing my experiences. Like I said, I've been doing this for over 20 years now, and I'm seeing results. I'm seeing the people's life changing. I'm seeing them manifest their experiences. And like I mentioned earlier, I rescued myself by bringing this positivity into my world. It's not like I'm perfect at it. No one's perfect, but I do my best each day to have that intention. I want to feel, and I literally do my gratitude each and every morning. And that's what I encourage my clients to do. You have a much higher chance of creating the gratitude and the positivity you want in your life if you start your day like that, because you're really setting that tone, right?
And I've often heard that, and I'm so guilty of not keeping a gratitude journal, and I
Okay,
should.
well, are you ready? I'll work with you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's a and I it's funny or not, but a year ago, yes, a year ago, I received gratitude. I received journals. Like I'm on the board of the Girl Scouts. I got sent one randomly. It's like a gift. Here we go. Great.
Oh, what a sign, huh?
Oh my gosh. Then, a friend gave me one. Here, you here. I just want to give you this. Why are you giving me this? I
What
didn't
a
say to
hint, hint,
anybody.
hint.
I got
Yes.
another one. I wound up with like four. I'm not kidding. And I still have not really dug into it. Now I have four, call it three I have 4 journals, and one of them has a couple of notes on it. And I really need to get into the everyday habit, even if it's just 5 things, right? Just write 5 things that you're grateful for at that moment. Doesn't take, what does it take? A couple of minutes. But the most important thing is, as I understand it and look at the research, physically write it down. Physically write
Yes.
it down instead of,
Yes.
using your phone and typing it in, because the connection between the mind and the hands just it seals the deal, so to speak.
I believe there's a lot of power in that. And as you write it, feel that as much as you can.
Mm.
To bring
Right.
that element in. So the fact that you're getting all these journals, I think it's time for you.
It's that guilty. I feel guilty
And
at
then
that.
here I am.
That and then you're just another reminder from that. So tomorrow morning at 6:30, that's what I'll be doing. Tell me about your journey, Rhea. How did you get here, and how did this all help you?
Well, interestingly, I was a teacher for many years, and I was teaching art during my classes, and I noticed as they were tapping into their creativity, they were getting excited about having quiet time when you would think that would be an area of playfulness with the creativity and the art, etc. So I started wondering what was going on there. And what I noticed and what I believe is that our soul, that deeper part of us, whatever you want to call that, I'll call it a soul for this conversation. I believe it expresses itself when we're being creative through writing, dancing, singing, painting. I paint from that place. I write from that place. So and then that led me into hypnotherapy. I was actually guided to take, which is kind of a long story, but just very quickly, I was going to a psychic for readings, and she
Hmm.
suggested it. And it was one of those moments where I may not have even considered it, but I had gone to her several times, and she was absolutely right on with what she said. And I was so amazed by it. So that led me to hypnotherapy. And then hypnotherapy led me to Sedona. And there are many different retreat companies here. So I worked with many of them at this point. And I am so honored and blessed to get to see people literally transform and change in front of me. And it is the most beautiful, rewarding dynamic. And I'm just blessed that I get to do this.
Wow. I'm a big believer in
Truly.
psychics myself.
Yeah.
They're up without a doubt.
It's
They've
good or bad, like anything, right?
There are some that are fantastic. There are
Yes.
some that really don't have ability. I can tell you this: I align myself with the some of the best, and they have actually charted my life. They have told me things, and they were spot on, and a lot of realization there, things I didn't realize. Yeah, yeah, I
So
gotcha.
and then imagine that. So that led me even deeper into wanting to connect on a deeper level with my soul beyond painting and writing from that place.
Mm,
So I also help clients connect with that soulful, again, whatever word you would like to call that, your inner guidance, your guides, your angels, your soul, whatever that is. I help people connect with that part of themselves and actually become their own psychics. So I can check in with my inner self,
mm.
and I can get information for myself. I mean, a psychic is wonderful. This was many, many years ago, and I absolutely was very lucky in the one that I found, that she found me, whatever, whatever way you look at it. And now I can find that part of myself, and I actually do inner journeys with people to allow their soul and their inner wisdom to have a voice. So I think psyches are wonderful, yes, and it's much more empowering when you can find it within yourself.
Do you feel, and it sounds like you do, but I want to confirm it, that
Yes,
we all have intuitive ability? We all
yes,
have it, but some
yes.
of us are able to maybe block out the noise around us, or maybe able to tune into it more than others.
That's a great question, and that's exactly what I would like to share. So, yes, in fact, I do believe we all have that part of ourself, absolutely. And so, imagine, to go back to the self talk, if we are listening and believing the fearfulness and the negativity within us, it's more difficult to connect to our positive, loving, soulful side. So this process of dismissing the negativity, and again, it's like it's working with neuroplasticity to literally rewire our mind to positive, right? So the more you're not listening to the negative, the more you open up to be able to listen and trust your intuition, your soul, your guides. I believe they're kind of all in the same arena. Your intuition is your soul wanting a voice, or your angels or guides, whatever that is for you.
How are you guided? Now we talk about, many times your gut feeling, right?
Yes.
When you have a certain feeling, what are you getting? How do you describe it?
Ooh, gosh, that's a great question.
Because I struggle with it. I have, ideas. Um, I try to trust it more than ever. But I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell you how I want to hear from you.
I it's almost like it's part of the practice, right? The more you listen and believe it, the more the thoughts and ideas come in. So personally for me, I will, like, just 2 times this week I thought of someone. Within minutes they were texting me. Not minutes, maybe within hours, I would say, is more fair.
Hmm.
But so they come in as a thought, and it's just kind of like a little flash. And I may not even think of it again until that person contacts me and I go, oh, I was just thinking of them. So, and it can come in feelings, but for me, it's more of like a thought that comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get a feeling? Do you feel something? Like a light feeling? Like you got to make a decision, A or B. How do you decide? What do you feel?
I think you expressed it well when you said there's almost like a lightness to it.
That's what I get.
Yeah. It's like a lightness, or it's a more comfortable, maybe, is a way to say it.
Comfortable? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And some
Yeah.
would say it's the first thing that pops in your head. That is the right answer. But what happens is this gets in the way, and then we sit there and we question, well, it can't be that easy. Come on, no way. But usually, many times, it can be just that easy.
And that's precisely how we self-sabotage.
And there you go.
Yeah, that's it
Yeah,
right there. You just defined it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it it's a shame the head gets in the way, but that's why we're wired, and we're wired. I think they call it the reptilian brain, where we're wired to fight. So we're going to question that because we got to make sure it's the right, instead of just saying, yeah, no problem, that's it, great, I'm going with that one, and then move forward.
And we can also give this little voice inside another name if that's helpful,
Hmm.
and refer to it. I like to call it like the negative ego. We all have an ego. We know that it's part of the human experience. I mean, I've had people ask me, can we actually kill or get rid of our ego? I don't think so. I think it's a natural part of who we are. It's more about not engaging with it and believing it and thinking that is the truth.
But
Because the
is
truth
it?
is, we're divine, radiant, amazing beings inside. We are so amazingly powerful, but we forget that when we're being constantly bombarded by, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, I'm a failure, you're a failure, right?
Hmm. Is ego? It always gets a bad rap. The word ego right
I know,
away.
that's why I was hesitant to bring it up, actually, because
Right.
let me define. I'm not referring to the arrogant ego that's better than that. That under that, I believe, is some level of not good enough. However, I'm referring to the negative ego that, again, and I know I keep saying this, but it's the one that wants us to believe we're not good enough, and it plays in the fear. And when we're in fear, we breathe differently, we act differently, we're smaller. I mean, there's so many negative connotations that come with that, hanging out in the fear area.
Hmm. When you work with people, that one side of it is hypnotherapist, which is fantastic. There's many out there, but you also blend spiritual life coach, which
Yeah.
powerful combination. Tell us about the coaching side.
Ooh, so I am so honored that I get to do this work. And like I said earlier, and so basically what I do is when I meet with someone, they can go on my website and set up a free consultation call. And basically I speak with them, and then I design a personalized program for them. Generally, it's either 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, depending on their needs and how far along they want to go into, like, connecting with their higher guides, et cetera, et cetera. So we generally, a general situation is, again, it's very personalized because I want to get to know that person. And then I design the course of the program, and then we redefine it together so it's perfect for them. So generally we'll meet once a week for 2 hours and we share. Like I said, I give homework, we do inner journeys, and I can do all of this through Zoom like we're talking right now, Steve.
Sure.
Or I have 3 or 4 day retreats where I meet with them in person. So it really depends on the person's needs. And again, it's all personalized.
And if you're going to retreat anywhere, it would be Sedona, Arizona. Just like
Right?
seriously. Yeah.
Right.
I have a friend who went there last year and just wanted to go and came back refreshed and in a different state. And this is somebody who deals with lots of anxiety. And it was just a wonderful experience. Just going there is a wonderful experience. What's your website, by the way, Rhea?
My website is imaginegetaways.com.
Good for you on snatching that URL. Fantastic.
It's a good one.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you work in different capacities. If somebody's looking to move their life forward on the coaching side, let me go back. Spiritual life coach. How do you define that?
Good question. I look at the spiritual realm as, you could call it your soul. I like to think of it as your soul. I don't know where people are with past lives, but I believe that the part of us that has lived and is living now and that will continue. And so the spiritual side is literally finding a connection with that inner wisdom, that depth, that truth of who we are, and getting wisdom and support from within. And I can guide them within. And I do an inner journey where they actually have different parts of them show up and they talk and share and merge and whatever's needed. It's all, again, all very personalized work that I do. So like your experience could be completely different from Tom down the road because you're Steve, right?
And we all have different beliefs and different views of things.
Yes.
And I feel on the spirit, lots of great life coaches, lots of great hypnotherapists out there, but blending the two as a spiritual life coach, it sounds to me like it goes a little bit deeper and maybe gets
Definitely.
down to the core of things instead of just, well, here's your homework. You need to, attain these goals by Wednesday. This is more of a soul search,
Definitely.
which I think we all need. And we lost touch. Let me factor out religion here because everybody looks at spirituality as religion. Not about that, but we lose touch
Exactly.
with ourselves and going deeper and realizing who we really are and what our capabilities are, to embrace lots of different things. Even just see signs that come from the universe we don't see because we're so wrapped up in our lives, right?
Yes, yes. And even the mentioning of religion, I've worked with people from all different types of religions. It really doesn't matter because at the core, I believe we're all amazing, wonderful beings inside. And that's what I like to remind people of. Essentially, if I had to recap and just put it into simplistic terms, I help a client see themselves differently and see their life differently through more positive, loving eyes. It's that simple.
I love that. Yeah. And looking at yourself differently can be a game changer. You might
Yes.
learn
Thank
something
you.
about
Yes.
yourself that you didn't even realize that you were capable of thinking, feeling,
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
I really feel that a lot of us walk around with a exterior coating on that it's just layers have been built up through traumas and all that. Yeah, all of that stuff, life in general. And sometimes you gotta, take the scab off, if you will, and kind of get down there and really feel that, you are living. Maybe you're not, and maybe that's why you feel stuck, right?
And exactly. And the protection is sadly, it's a natural part of our human experience. And that's why
For sure.
creating a safe space and being present and realizing that, it's okay to start unraveling those layers and let's get to what's underneath them. So you
Yeah.
said it very well. I appreciate that.
Oh, well, I appreciate you. And, I looked at it this way too. Scars have a story. So there's a story behind every one there. Sometimes the story isn't good. So, and for that, there's you. ImagineGetaways.com.
Yes.
Yeah, go to the website. And if you're looking for answers or just want to start a dialogue, maybe a change in your life, do you have a free consult?
I sure do. 30-minute. Yes.
Excellent. Rhea, great
Definitely.
talking with you today. Lots of
Great
insight
seeing you,
and
Steve.
love your energy. I really do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you
stuff.
so much.
And there's lots to talk about. I look forward next time we get a chance to get together.
Yeah, and we'll know what's happening next time.
The universe will tell us what's happening. All right, we'll talk soon. Thanks again.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.